Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Metaphorics' third webinar of the year. And today we're going to be covering financial reporting, looking at account schedules and how we can export to Excel. First of all, we'll have a little look at the standard reports and standard screens that we can use within Navision itself, things that we might not be aware of at the moment. And then we'll move on to account schedules, where we will be having a look at an existing schedule and how we can print that up, how the schedule is set up, and again, how we can export to Excel. We'll then create a new account schedule, so I'll show you how easy that is, and we'll have a look at how we define the rows and the columns that we'll be using on that account schedule. We'll then have a look at the overview of the account schedule and how from there we can drill down and see the underlying entries that have made up that particular figure. And then finally, we'll have a look at how we can incorporate, for those of us who use dimensions and who have more than just the two global dimensions which travel around Navision, we will have a look at how we can incorporate the additional dimensions known as shortcuts. So first of all, we'll go into Navision itself, and we'll first of all go and have a look from our chart of accounts and what is available from chart of accounts. Now, we are, as usual, using a Cronus database, so the dates and data could look a little bit strange to us, but I'm sure you'll forgive me for that. Just get rid of that. And from here, from our chart of accounts, at the bottom of our screen, we have a balance button. And if we go on to that button, we can see we have this ability here to view our chart of accounts from a dimensional point of view, but also it does give us just a standard different view of our chart of accounts. So our new screen is comprises of some tabs at the top here, which we can determine how we want to view it. So at the moment we're showing the lines as our GL account and the columns as our period. Now, everything that is shown on this screen is dependent on the information as entered into our filters tab at the top here. So we can determine the date filter that we want to use. So I'm just going to change this, and excuse the date, as I say, it is a Cronus database, so of course the data is always of a different year than what we are currently running. We can also choose to filter on the GL accounts that we want, so I'm going to have a look at our expense accounts. I believe they are. Okay, so now we're just looking at that particular set of our details from our chart of accounts. Okay, so we have an options tab as well, which allows us to show different values, whatever we want to see. Okay, now that's quite interesting, but what we might want to do is, because in our this particular database we also have our dimensions we can use, and you'll notice here we have something called department filter and project filter. So for the Cronus database, the department and project dimensions are the two global dimensions. So what we can then do is we can actually choose to show the details from the department point of view. So we will have a look from our department, so we can say admin. Okay, and so on. So we have full control if we want to break it down further into perhaps a project. I'm not sure what data we've got here, probably not a lot. No, I thought not. But we have full control from here as to how we want to view that information. So that's just standard, and you can get that now today off of your existing system. Additionally, from our balance by dimensions from our chart of accounts, we have some standard reports. And within our report section on our menu, we have a section called financial statement. So if we go into there, you can see there are quite a number of different reports that are available for us. So I'm just going to have a look at the one that's called trial balance by period. We have, as normal, for any reports that we're running within Navision, our dialog boxes to ask us what information we want to look at. So because we're looking at our chart of accounts, we can determine which accounts we want to view, or we can leave the filters open to see everything. And on our options tab, in this particular report, we just have to give it a start date. So I'm going to say from January 2010, and then we can preview, and we can see the data on our trial balance with all the accounts, as we didn't actually filter on them at all. Okay, so standard reports that you can use anytime at the moment. So we do have, as I say, quite a good list of reports that we can use. However, and that information is good, but sometimes there are little limitations, and therefore what we can use now is our account schedules, and we access those from the analysis and reporting section here. And you'll notice we have our account schedules. It will open up always, as Navision always does, look at the last one you were running, but just so that you're aware, if you click into the field at the top there, it does actually bring through all the account schedules that you have. And as I say, we will be creating a new one shortly. Okay, so I will have a look at this profit and loss report. Okay, we've got some, this is our setup screen, and you'll notice we have various columns here. Just to describe what we're looking at here, we have the rows down the page here, which is relating to the chart of accounts, or the GL accounts that we're going to be using. We have a description, and it's purely of our choice. We can enter whatever we'd like to in that column. We then have the totaling type, and in here we say what type of account that we're going to be using. So our options are posting accounts, so these are the accounts marked as posting in your chart of accounts. We have total accounts, which this particular one is, and for a total account, what it is saying, it is not a posting account, it is a totaling account on the chart of accounts. So if I just drill down here just to show you what I mean, so account number 6195. So 6195, I just scroll up slightly there. So 6195 is actually the total, the end total of all of our sales accounts here. Whereas if we look down on this row, for example, we're looking at cost of sales, and here we're actually looking at, and this is standard Navision filtering, a range of accounts, so GL accounts 7110 to 7130. We're using here the pipe symbol, which is your shift and backslash character on your keyboard next to your Z key. So a range of accounts, and then plus or another range 7150 to 7190. So standard Navision filtering. We've also got here a formula, and in this case we're asking Navision to total the rows 20 to 40. In other words, give me a grand total of my fields from here. We can then tell the system whether we want to show the net change, balance or date at date, or beginning balance. Also, and again, depending on which account is being displayed on your chart, on your account schedule, you can say whether you want to show the net amount, or just the debit, or just the credit amount. We then have some information that we can provide in terms of, from a printing point of view, how we want to organise the printout. Do we want to show the field? If it was a formula field, we might not want to actually see it on our report, so we can choose whether we do or don't. And we can also decide if we only want to show whether it's negative, positive, or negative balance. We have some tick boxes here, so we can say that we want to make things bold, we can italicize, and we can choose to underline the characters. You'll notice here we have a show opposite sign, and that is because revenue accounts, sales accounts in Navision, as you've probably come across before, actually show as a negative value, i.e. their credits, and of course from a reporting point of view that might not look quite right, so you can just choose here to actually show the opposite sign. And then we can decide from a printing perspective, once we are hard copy printing, whether we want to throw to a new page at the point of a particular account. Okay, so what we'll just do now is I'm just going to go and have a look at what this looks like from a printing point of view, so these fields then come into a bit more perspective for you. And I tell Navision what it is that I want to look at, so I'm going to use my profit and loss. What the columns, and there are several columns that are available, and again we'll have a look at how we create those shortly. And then what date filter, so I'm just going to use 2011 basically for this, and then I can add some other filters if I wish to as well. So I'll just do a preview to screen. Okay, so we've got the details at the top here, which tell us what our filtering is, what the period we've used, what the account schedule is that we're actually printing up, and the column layout that we've used. And it tells us our dates here, our filter dates, and then we've got our various rows that we've entered, and you can see where we've said the underline, we've got those underlying characters. Okay, so that's how we can print our reports, but what we'll do now is we'll actually have a look at creating a account schedule from scratch. So I can simply just drill down into that account schedule name, and I will call it Meta, and I will give it a title of profit and loss. Okay, and then I will just simply say OK to that, and then when I click into the field, having selected Meta here, we can see that I now have a blank screen to work with. Now, of course, we can manually come in and enter all our row details, selecting whether we want a posting account and formulas and all those good things, but that would be very laborious and it would take me too long in this short session. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look through using the functions and the insert accounts. So what this does is it brings us through to our chart of accounts, and we can now select the accounts that we want to use. I'm just going to make just a short schedule here. So all I have to do is click and highlight from that very top left-hand box of my screen, and just going to pick up my revenue accounts. Once I've done that, and of course you can, as well as using the click and drag, if they were individual accounts that you wanted, you can, by placing your finger on the control key, pick up individual accounts as well. So all things are possible, but I'm just going to use just those few accounts there just for this exercise. Say OK, and it automatically brings those through for me. So you'll notice that the row number is actually the same number as the GL account itself, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And you'll notice it has, as in Navision, has automatically brought through the fact that some of the accounts are indeed those totaling accounts. So it's already changed the totaling types for me there. I can, as I said earlier, choose various attributes. So if I want to, for example, my headings, I might want to come in and make that bold. I might want to, oops, not that one, and all my headings, all my totals, etc. is bold. If I want to italicize, then I can just tick that box. Again, if I want to underline, and basically for my revenue accounts, I would want to show those as all show opposite signs, etc. Now, what else I can do, because this is just purely a working document, if I wanted to, I could actually pick up some of my accounts and move them around, because of course I'm just picking up my chart of accounts in the order that my chart of accounts is. Maybe I don't want it in that particular order, so I can just simply highlight, copy my accounts, come down to here, and then paste those accounts in. It does look a bit silly, so I will actually just delete those. Also, if I want to, if it makes more sense to me, I can actually come in and change my row number. So I might decide I want to call that 100, 110. The reason why we number the rows are, number one reason is to keep them in order, but number two, if we're using them as a formula. So in this case, I'll just finish this little section here. 130, and we leave, like you do with your chart of accounts, I leave a gap between the numbers so that if I want to, I can actually insert fields as well. So make that and make that 150, and then here where I've got my totaling accounts, what I can do, because I might change the various fields that I have selected here, I can just use my formula. So I can say I want row 100 ... to row 149, and that is a totally valid way of doing that. Okay, so if I now if I want to, I can come in and create columns, but I won't just at the moment. I'm just going to come to my overview. Excuse me. And here we've got some very similar screen to what we had from our balance by dimension straight from our chart of accounts. We have the account schedule name. We have the column layout name, and in this case I'm using something called default, but I can choose at any time to change that just by selecting the new columns that I want, and in this case I've got my balance and against budget, etc. So I can view it from this perspective. I can come in and I can again, if I want to, choose to set a department filter. And on my options, we can add some various other filters as well. You'll notice here that there is only the two global dimensions, our department and our project, but you'll see that we do have the ability to add additional dimensions. Okay, and I'll be showing you how you can do that in a moment. Okay, so if we wanted to have a look at our account schedule with our dimensions going across the top rather than our headings, we can do that by creating new columns. So I'll just show you now how we can do that. So we go to Setup, and in General, and Column Layouts. So again, if I drill down, at the moment we're looking at something called Area, but here are all my various column layouts. So I can come in here and I'm just going to create a new column layout called Departments. And then say OK, and again when I click I've now got a blank screen in which to create my department headings. We can again give it a column number, so I'm just going to call this 10, I could call it AB, whatever. And my departments, I know I have administration, oops, with one I is preferable. I can choose again what I want to show. I can either have a formula, net change, balance at date, begin and balance, year to date, rest of fiscal year, or entire fiscal year. So depending on what I want to show in those columns, I can make that selection. I can also choose whether I'm going to be looking at the GL entries or the budgets on this particular column. Again, I can say whether I want to show the net amount, debit or credit. I can enter a formula if I wish here, and whether I want to show opposite signs or not. But what I'm actually interested in this particular set is that I want to add the fact that I want to show the various department headings. So in here, I'm going to do administration. And while I'm here, I'm just going to cheat and pull up production there. And there in my third column, I'm going to show the sales figures. So I can come back and finish my layout here. And my sales. Okay. And you'll notice I can actually add other dimensions as well. But that's all I'm going to do at the moment. So I'm just going to escape from here, back to my account schedule, and now pick up my departments. And so we can now see that those headings have now changed to the department headings. I can choose my scope at the bottom here, my timescape to go back previous periods, etc. That's not a very exciting account schedule in terms of departments, so I'm just going to quickly show you back on the profit and loss because it does show a lot more information for us. So here we go. So from our profit and loss, if we come down, if we want to see how our expenses are against our various departments, this information now is a lot more interesting for us. Okay, so once we have this and we have our account schedule, we can either decide to print as we did previously, but we can also export to Excel. I've got an option here as to whether I want to create a workbook or update an existing one. Well, I'm going to create one, so I can just say OK. It will whiz away and create my Excel spreadsheet for me. And so down now in my taskbar at the bottom, I can see I have my account schedule now in Excel format, which of course means that you can share this information with other users who perhaps aren't users of Navision. Okay, so we've had a look at just close that down. We've had a look at how we can create our own account schedule, how we can create our headings, our columns, and how from our account schedules we can determine what our columns are going to look like, and also if we want to include our dimensions. But of course we can only see from our account schedule, as standard, we can only see our 2 global dimensions. However, we can actually incorporate additional dimensions by using something called analysis views. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at excuse me, we'll have a look at those and how we can include them. So from our home screen, set up dimensions and analysis views, we can have a look at, and again we can set up as many analysis views as we like, and we can set them up so that we can bring in these additional dimensions, or the shortcut dimensions. I'll just show you how those are actually set up. We give it a code, we give it, oh, nice little spelling mistake there, sales by area. We determine which GL accounts we're going to be running this analysis view over, and we can also, in the dimensions area, pick those dimensions that we want to include on this analysis view. So once we've set that up, we can then go back and just close my screens down. We can then come back to our account schedules, and you'll notice that I've also got an account schedule called area. I have columns also set up in true Blue Peter fashion called area, and you'll notice that on here I have actually attached to my columns the area analysis view that we were just looking at, and also against my account schedule I also want to include the area. Excuse me, I have a frog today. Just so that you're aware, I will just pop back 2 dimensions so that you know what we're going to be looking at. And in our dimensions, we are looking at the geographical areas for Cronus database. What I've also done from a column point of view in our column layouts, again, just so that you're aware, very similar to what we had in the departments, I've just pulled out the totaling fields from our from our dimensions, from our values. So North Europe, South Europe, America, and then total for all areas. And again, just as I did for the departments, picked up the various codes. So back to our area account schedule. We can go to account and overview. And so here we can see the details based on our filters. So again, we're looking at 2010. We can filter out, if we wanted to, which department, but that would probably be a bit silly, but we have the ability to do that. And of course, with this information that we have here, we can actually go and have a look at the information that has made up all the postings from here. Okay, so again, if we wanted to, we can export to Excel, or we can just go and have a little print, and we can see the details as per our account schedule. Okay, so today we have had a look at financial reporting using the on-screen and hard copy reporting that is available. We have looked at account schedules and how we can print an account schedule, how we can export to Excel, and how we can actually set the account schedules up in the first place, along with the columns and how we can set those columns again, including our dimensions. And then we've had a look using our analysis views, how we can incorporate our additional shortcut dimensions that we might have. Okay, so I'm now going to take you all off mute and ask if you have any questions that I might be able to help you with. If you don't feel like asking questions now, then please, if you can either email Debbie or email support, and we will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So, any questions, anybody? Okay, well, thank you all for joining us on this session this morning, and I look forward to meeting you all again on our next session next month. Thank you for your time.